What's up, guys? George here, George the CS guy. Today we're going to be talking about data types and variables, and what you might notice is that I've already actually written pretty much the entire class for this lesson. You can go ahead and create your own Java project, create a class if you want. I don't really think it's necessary for this assignment because most of what I've written is just to explain the different concepts to you. So let's dive in. First, what are data types and variables? Data types and variables are two really important concepts in Java because they enable us to store value. And what this means is that we can keep something like, let's say you're playing a video game. You level up to level 18 today and decide to call it quits and wait for the next day. And tomorrow you log back in and you want to see that you're still level 18. You don't want to have to start all over. Data types and variables allow us to store information over time and keep reusing the same value. So I can have 10 different characters all with their own level, and those all are preserved. So every time I log in, I can play my character at the level he was at the last time I played him. So first, let's dive into numerical data types. We have right up here 6 types, and let's start with the first 4. Byte, short, int, and long. These are all data types that use whole numbers, 1, 2, 3, etc. Byte is the smallest, and this is the maximum value, 127. This right here is the minimum value, 128. You might be a little confused about what these slashes are and then numbers. It's really just a tool. They're called comments, and it's a tool that developers use to give themselves information about what's happening in the code. The computer ignores anything after these slashes, so as far as my computer is concerned, that doesn't exist at all, but it's something that I can look at myself and that I have information about. Anyways, we then have short, and short has a significantly larger size, a little over 32,000. Int, really large number, a little over 2 billion? Yeah, a little over 2 billion. And long, that's obviously a significantly larger number. What you'll notice here is that long ends in an L. That's just classic Java syntax. You have to have a long ending in an L just to specify what it is. Otherwise, the computer's going to try to think it's an int, and it causes a bunch of really stupid errors. It actually won't even let my computer or let the program run. If I take out the L, I get this little error here. Don't read into it too much. It's wordy. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but all it's really saying is that we can't do a long without an L at the end. The next two are called float and double. Float and double are for any number that's not a whole number. So what I've written here are the first few digits of pi for both float and double, and you'll notice that double is a significantly more precise number. Double has twice the precision of float. That's why it's given the name double. Pretty intuitive. And you'll also notice that the F and D are trailing those numbers too. Same as long. It's just something you got to do. It's the way Java works. So right down here we have a few system.out.println things. You're familiar with those from the last 2 lessons. But what we have in the parentheses this time is the variable name. This is the variable name. My byte, my short, my int, my long, my float, my double. This works just like a number. This is going to print out the exact same thing as if I had put 127 in there. Float, double, same thing. We're going to run this whole thing at the end because, as you'll notice, I have a few more print lines, and I kind of want to just talk about what everything's going to do, and then we can run it and see, just make sure it does what we expect. So let's move on to textual data types. We have 2 main textual data types in Java, the char and string. So char holds exactly 1 character, no more. It can hold 0, but that's kind of pointless to store nothing. So yeah, right here, it's in single quotes. It's just a G, nothing else to it. And a string, I actually alluded to this in the first lesson. A string of text is what I described hello world as, and that's actually because that's the name of the data type. It's in double quotes. It's just like the hello world program, kind of same idea here on how I keep this phrase of text together. The next data type we have is called a Boolean. It's not a textual data type. It's kind of its own special category. It has two possible values, true and false. These are used in looping structures, which we're going to learn about in a couple lessons, and just kind of tells you whether something is accurate, is correct or not. Let's say I said, is 5 greater than 3? That's true. Is 3 greater than 5? That's false. That's where Booleans come into play. So down here, again, I'm printing out more things, my string and my bool. Like we would expect, this works exactly like how the Hello World program worked. It's going to just print out this is a string, and then this one is going to print out true. So all of these are like pretty intuitive. It just prints out exactly what you tell it to print out, what's stored in that data type. Or I'm sorry, what's stored in that variable. To clarify, the data type is this part, byte, short, int, long, and the variable name is my byte, my short, etc. So let's go into using variables down here, this final little section right here. First, we're going to create another int. As you can see, we've done that in this first line right here, but it's different than all of the other ones we did up at the top because there's no equal sign. We're not assigning it anything. This is called declaring a variable, and it's the first step of creating a variable. Next, we have to initialize it, and initializing it is just assigning a value to it. So it's like in the first line, in the declaring of the variable, we're creating a name. In the initializing section, we're giving meaning to that name. In all of these up here, we just combined the steps, which is perfectly legal. You can always do that. But I just wanted to break it down kind of so you understood what was going on. So now we have this variable, another int, and we started off with it being equal to 7. We have another print line statement, and this is kind of showing you that variables can be mixed with what we did in the basic arithmetic lesson in the previous lesson. We're going to print out another int plus 3. I'm going to let you guys try to think about what you expect to be printed out for these next three statements, and then once we run it, we'll kind of talk about why that is. This second one, we're just printing out another int. In this line, we're actually reassigning the value in another int, so we're making it another int equals itself plus 5, and then we're going to print out the variable. So let's take a look at what happens. First, we're going to look at the first 5 print sections, and then the last 3. So the first 5, this prints out the size of a byte, not the size of a byte, I'm sorry, the value in my byte, and then this one prints out the value in my float, my double, my string, and my bool. Now the bottom 3, another int plus 3, we can replace another int with 17. So we print out 17 plus 3. Then, in the next line, some people might think that it's going to print out 20 because we did 17 plus 3, but we never reassigned the value, so the value of another int is still 17. As you can see down here, it's printed. In the next line of code, in line 30 on the screen, you can see that we're actually reassigning another int. So we're taking what's in it already, adding 5 to it, and then putting that back into the variable name, another int, and printing that out, and that's where we get this 22 from. So data types and variables are kind of a complex topic that it'll take a little bit of time to really understand them, and that's totally okay. Just keep using them, keep kind of exploring it, and just you'll figure it out over time. I've included a link to a tiny upload file that has the lesson plan that I wrote for this lesson. I think that's really, really helpful. It's got a couple great diagrams and a few metaphors that I think are like kind of funny or something, and I really recommend you check that out. I think it'll help a long way in understanding this topic. And if you have any questions, like always, shoot me an email at the email in the description below. Thanks for watching, and tune in for the next video.